I know that this is becoming a bit of a rant every time I hop on the mic to go on and on about how using the phone is in your best interest as a wedding industry professional, but it's something that we cannot harp on enough and that we cannot underscore enough, and that's the reason why I'm up here today. For those of you who've been listening for a while, you remember the episode where I spoke about hooking up two of my friends, my friend and colleague who is a retouching whiz kid. He is really good at retouching, editing, post-production, basically. So he's my go-to guy for any advanced stuff. And then a former classmate of mine who is getting ready for her 40th birthday and wants some photos to be worked on, certain parts of the image to be covered up, the cleavage specifically. And so I hooked both of them up to try and get this thing sorted. Now, for those of you who are long-time listeners, you'll remember that this thing had been dragging on for a while because even though I had exchanged contact details, I had to mediate back and forth between them. To try and figure out what the problems were with what was delivered, what needs to be done, and timeframes and things of that nature. So, today, I want to use one of the conversation frameworks that we've discussed in the past, to show you how using the phone can help expedite things whenever you're dealing with a customer. And so, if the problem is that you don't use the phone because you don't have a framework for how to go about this, and so you're feeling a little bit nervous, you can just use any of the conversation frameworks that we have explored on the podcast in the past, and it'll help you to get the ball rolling. Now, okay, never mind. My brain just went off on a tangent. All right, so one of the conversation frameworks that we have explored in the past, if you're new to the podcast, you can hit pause, skip back out to the menu, and look for any of the titles that have conversation framework in them. And then there you're going to be exposed to not only what I'm going to talk about today, but several other ideas about agendas and simple outlines that you can use to guide a conversation when you are dealing with a customer, or whether you are at a networking session or at a professional event, and etc., etc. So, one of the frameworks that I mentioned was something that I learned from Grant Cardone. It's available on his free material on YouTube and also on Cardone University, which is his online sales training platform. Now, the outline has 4 or 5 elements, and it goes like this. Now, pretty much you start off a phone conversation by giving the appropriate greeting. After the appropriate greeting, you go straight to your intention, because everybody's busy these days and nobody wants to be bullshitted. Or bullshat, or whatever the right expression is. So, we don't want to bullshit anyone, so greet and then head straight to the point, let them know why you're calling. After that, you need to ask a couple of questions, because you have to understand the lay of the land, know what the problem is, know what the vision is. And from asking all those questions, you're going to be able to make a proposal about how you think we need to go about fixing or curing this problem in the first place, or what kind of services it is that you provide. And then, after you ask the questions, you make a suggestion or a proposal. And then the final step is the close, and that is where you get them to take action on what it is that both of you have agreed to over this phone call. So remember, that is greeting, and then intention. After intentions, we're moving straight to questions. After questions, we now know enough, so we make a proposal. After the proposal, we get them to take action. That is the close. Because there's no point in making a proposal and then just leaving things hanging in the air, and then while they're awkward, let me think about it, let me discuss with my uncle, my mom, let me discuss with my wife, let me discuss with my children, let me discuss with my brother, let me discuss with my sister. So you get them to take action so that we can move the ball forward. So now, in this case, the greeting would have been very simple after I exchanged contact details. Now, what I recommend is that you are the professional, so you are the one who should always take the initiative. You, the wedding planner, you, the wedding photographer, you, the retoucher, the design guy, you, the decor person, you, the caterer. You are the one who has to take the initiative. So in this case, the retoucher, he picks up the phone and then he dials. Ring, ring. Someone is going to answer. And at this stage, my own personal belief, because some people believe in introducing yourself and all that and calling your company name, I don't think company name is important. I don't think you introducing yourself is important at this stage, because at some point in the conversation that is going to come up. So right now, I think your chief concern is appropriate greeting and be sure you're speaking to the right person. So it's going to be ring ring, somebody picks and says hello. I'm going to say, hello, is this Madam MPH? They say, yes. So, okay. My name is Mr. FD, and I'm calling from Tabishima Ayede. It's concerning the photographs that you wanted to be retouched. And then she's going to say, oh, thank you very much. I've been expecting your call. And of course, you say, no wahala. Before we move on, I have a few questions to be sure that I understand exactly what it is that we need done with the photos. And then she'll say, oh, okay, no problem. I have some time. Go on. Why don't you ask? And then you start asking the questions. What do you need these photographs for? Oh, it's for your 40th birthday. Okay, congratulations. Are you guys designing some flyers and stuff? Oh, okay, so that means you're going to need the photos ready for at least 1 week before the party. Okay, we have 10 days from now, so that's not a problem. I should be able to work within that timeline. Another question though, the photographs look okay to me. What problem is it that you have with them? Okay, so you want the bust to be covered up. You think the cleavage is too revealing. Okay, so when you say too revealing, what does it mean? Do you mean you want us to take it up to the middle of the chest region, or should we go all the way up to the collarbone? Okay, so it's middle region. But what about the pictures in this other, the photos in images 5, 6, and 7? I think they're covered to the middle, so that seems okay. But it looks like we have some side boob action here. Are we supposed to cover up the side boob too? Okay, alright, no problem. So on this one, cover up the side boob. On this one, side boob is fine. So we're looking more at the armpit region. Okay, no problem. I think I understand perfectly what needs to be done. And that is the questioning format. Then next would be the proposal. So you will now say, okay, so if I understand you correctly, Mrs. MPH, what we're going to do on photographs 1 through to 4 is we're going to raise the cloth up to the middle. On 5, 6, and 7, we're going to take it all the way up to the collarbone. And then on images 8, 9, and 10, we're much more concerned with side boob, especially 8 and 9, cover up the side boob. But for 9 and 10, it looks like side boob is okay. So we're only going to worry about cleaning up the armpits. So do I understand correctly? Does that game plan work with you? And she's going to say, perfect. And you say, okay, fine, no problem. And then the next stage is the close, where you get them to take action, to commit to what you've agreed on. So now you're going to say, all right, so for us to move forward, I'm going to need the high resolution photos that you got from the original photographer, because the images that Tavishima sent to me are low resolution photos and I can't work on those. She'll say, okay, no problem, I can do that. Now in your own case, that's not specific enough. You have to push for a time. You're saying, okay, for us to be ready for Wednesday next week, which is 1 week ahead of time, can you send it to me tomorrow by 10 a.m. latest so I can start working? And she'll say, okay, no problem, I can do that. And then you pull out your diary and you write it on a sheet of paper, 10 a.m. tomorrow. So if you haven't received the photos then, when you call at 10 a.m. tomorrow or send a follow-up message at 10 a.m. tomorrow, it's going to be for a very specific purpose. You'll be sending the message to follow up because you haven't gotten the photos. So none of all that, I'm just calling to greet you, ma. I'm just calling to say how far. I'm just texting to say how far. None of that. Your text, your follow-up is going to be for a very specific purpose. And then, now, remember this is a commercial relationship, even though both of them are my guys. Or my girl. Okay, well, my girl and my guy. So, next, it's commercial, so of course you guys have to talk about the money. So the next question is going to be, the next thing is going to be, so to confirm this order, you would also have to make a deposit for the amount of XXX Naira and Kobo by tomorrow 10 a.m. latest. And she will say, oh yes, that's fine, I already discussed that with Tabishima, I'll make the transfer. And of course you say, okay, thank you very much, I will wait to get the deposit and the photos from you. And she will say, okay, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Mr. FD. I'm looking forward to having the photos wonderfully done. And, all that small talk, like, don't worry, ma, I got you. Me and Tavishima have been working for a very long time. I'll sort you out. Don't worry, there won't be any problem. Okay, bye-bye, bye-bye. And then click. Phone conversation is over. Now, this is an easy example of how you can handle this conversation real quickly, real sharp, over 5 minutes. It's a simple framework. You have all the information that you need to get the job done, and there'll be no need for somebody to keep mediating between both of you back and forth over the course of 10 days. So these are the reasons why it's real handy to use a phone call, and it can help to expedite our businesses. And I would recommend wedding industry professionals, please, let's all jump on this phone bandwagon. The phone thing it's not like you have to do the phone every single time, because using this scenario, now that you've agreed to the timelines and what is it that needs to be done, the next step, you can perfectly carry out your follow-up by text message. Like I said, you've made a note in your diary. The photos are going to be in your inbox by Wednesday at 10 a.m. So if by Wednesday at 10 a.m. the photos are not there, then shoot an email or send an SMS. It's okay to follow up that way. It's okay to follow up that way. You don't necessarily have to follow up. If you find that if you don't like calling people to chase them about money, then in this case, you guys already had some agreed to timelines. So the following up through SMS or email, in this case, might seem okay. So, so that's it for today, pretty much. Let me just leave it at that. We've already gone past the 10-minute mark, so there's no point in me lengthening the time commitment that you guys have already given to this podcast. So thank you very much for listening to the podcast. Thank you for your time and attention. I'm your host, Abuja-based event and wedding photographer Tavishima Ayede. I hope I've been able to convince those of you who've been sitting on the fence for a very long while that it's a good idea to use the phone, and that perhaps the problem isn't that you don't like phone calls. Because some people say, I beg, I don't like calling. What's the big deal? Let me just send my text. So perhaps the problem is not that you don't like phone calls. Maybe it's that you don't have a ready framework for how you're supposed to conduct yourself over phone conversations. So this outline that I gave from Grant Cardone is a simple way that you can handle yourself in phone conversations. So if this one feels like it's too much work, like I said, just go back to the menu, check. You'll see a series that I did on conversational frameworks. It hasn't been more than, I think, 2 weeks since we did that. It's a series of maybe 4 to 5 recordings, maybe 6 max. Different ideas about phone conversations, phone scripts, outlines that you can use. So maybe that's the idea. So thanks for listening. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.